Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you is
Yeah.
the UFC have brought bonuses in now for a finish, a knockout, a sub, whatever. I was thinking, if a fighter misses weight and then he goes on, the fighter then misses weight, then he then goes on to get a submission finish or a knockout. Do you think
Yeah.
he should still get that finish bonus?
Well, previously, if you miss weight and you get a bonus, you're ineligible for the previous bonuses. So that's how when I fought
Oh,
Steven Peterson, Peterson missed weight. Me and him got fight of the night. I got my bonus and his bonus. I got both of them. So I think they should do the same thing with missing weight now. Like if you miss weight, you should just be ineligible for any bonuses, and that way it'll put a little bit more pressure on guys to make weight. I also think they should take a point immediately. Like if you miss weight, because that's the biggest advantage in fighting is if you miss weight. If I accidentally kick you in the balls twice, you're gonna sometimes maybe once, but it's usually like a couple times they'll take a point away. I'd rather get kicked in the balls 2 times than for you to show up 3 pounds heavier than me because at weigh-ins, if you're 3 pounds heavier than me in the cage, you might be 6, 7, 8 pounds heavier than me, and that's a huge advantage. Kicking me in the balls, yeah, that sucks, but I'll get a little bit of a break, and it's something I've dealt with before. I mean, everybody's dealt with it that fights, but I think the biggest advantage is, obviously, if you poke someone in the eye badly, that's a pretty big advantage too. But they take points away from that almost immediately sometimes too. So, but I think if you miss weight, that's one of the biggest advantages because you didn't have to put yourself through exactly the same type of weight cut as that person did. I think if they start taking a point away and take ineligibility of bonuses and stuff away, I think there's going to be a lot less people missing weight because if you're like holy shit, if I miss weight, I'm going to be down a point already. Like you already are going to be behind the, you're going to be feel like you're going to have to finish anyway. So I think that would help people not miss weight as much because I think a lot of these guys that miss weight sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I'll lose out on 20%, but now I'm gonna have an advantage. And they say like I think it's like 75 to 80% of people that miss weight end up winning their fights. So I don't know if there's a correlation. Causation doesn't mean correlation, but it's like that's a pretty big percentage of guys missing weight that are also winning their fights. So I think they should be ineligible. But I mean, I've never missed weight, so and there's a reason for that. My last fight, I got fight of the night, and I was close to not wanting to make weight because I was suffering bad. And but in my mind, I was thinking I don't want to miss weight because that's the only thing I can control. I can't control exactly how fights turn out sometimes, but I can control what the weight, what the scale says with my weight. So I always make weight because too much money on the line too, man. If they're going to take 10, 20, 30% of my purse, that's just too much. My family needs that money. So, uh, but yeah, some guys just don't want to, some guys have a hard time suffering like that.
mm. What about weight cuts in general? Are they getting harder as you get older?
I mean, it just, for me specifically, I think maybe a little bit, but with preparation, I'm fine. Like I'm good to go. Like when I fought Darren Elkins 2 fights ago, I had one of my best weight cuts I ever did. And but the fight after that, when I fought Melky, it was probably one of the worst weight cuts I've had in a long time because I fought Elkins, and then right after Elkins, I didn't know I was fighting for another week. So I had a whole week where I was just eating, drinking, having a good time. I just beat Elkins first round. I was on my third first round finish in a row. I was like fucking living life. I was having a good time. We stayed in Miami for another couple of days, had a good time with my family and stuff. Came back home. That next weekend, it was like Saturday or Sunday. I was like 180, and then my management said, "Hey, do you want to fight Melky at the Apex in 4 weeks?" Because I had asked for that fight. I'd asked, well, he was one of the opponents. I was like, "Oh, I would like to fight that guy. That'd be cool." And so they got me that fight, and I was like, "Well, shit, fuck it, let's do it." But I was heavy, and so it was like 4 weeks to go from 180 to 46, and I thought it was going to be a little bit of weight that would just kind of come off immediately, but it didn't, and it took me a little longer. I actually ended up waking up the morning of weigh-ins 2 pounds lighter than I did for Darren Elkins in Miami, but it took me twice as long to get it off because I was more dehydrated and just it had more weight and it just my body wasn't ready to cut that type of weight. But I still ended up getting the weight off, and luckily I did because we got fight of the night. I lost the fight, but got fight of the night, so I basically got paid like I won the fight. So and that was very important to me. But it was like uh, I, I I jumped on that fight a little a little bit over enthusiastic. If I in my mind, if I would have just, I wish I would have had a couple more weeks for that fight, or I wish I didn't go too crazy after the Elkins fight with food and drinks and all that kind of stuff. But it's part of the fight game. Sometimes you just gotta say, say screw it and go for it. And so that's what I did with the Melky fight. And still made weight, but yeah, it was more difficult because I had less time to do it.